Hi everybody, Leo Babauta from Zen Habits here. So good to be here with you. And in this video, we're going to dive into a topic that I think is incredibly important, especially if you're trying to practice mindfulness, practice something along the lines of Zen practice. If you want to find more peace, to let go of things, to relax more, to feel more at ease during your day. This is, I think, an incredible practice. It's incredibly simple in terms of what we're going to be doing, but not easy. So, this is the practice of direct experience. This is what I believe is a foundational practice in Zen. And so I'm going to be diving into what does it mean? How do we practice? Some things that's important to know. So this is meant to be a guide to the Zen practice of direct experience. So first of all, what does direct experience mean? And by the way, I'm going to have in a minute a couple of warnings that I think are really important as we talk about this. So those are important. But first, what is direct experience? Direct experience is becoming present to or putting your attention on the direct sensation of what's happening in this moment. So, for example, in this moment, I might notice that there is light in the room. That is a direct sensation, is light being received and processed by my eyeballs and into my brain is the direct experience of light. And even I might notice the qualities of the light. So maybe it's bright or dim. Maybe it's, bluish light or bright yellow light. Other things, direct experience would be colors and shapes. So as you look at this video, you might see behind me, there's some greens, some colors like that. There's terracotta or browns, there's whites, there's blues. These are the colors that are there. And so you can directly experience those. You can directly experience the shapes of the leaves, for example, or of that plant pot. And so these are shapes. These are direct experience of those sensations of colors, shapes, light qualities, things like that. And these are visual ones. And you can also notice that my hand moves. That's a visual sensation that you can directly experience. But what it isn't is like, oh, that's a plant. So as soon as we start to bring concepts into it, that's not direct experience. It's just pure experience of seeing the plant, seeing my face, seeing my hand. These are just as opposed to like, ooh, what's that? Right? Let me kind of like think about it, put some concepts, a mental map on it, start to have some thoughts about it. That pulls us away from the direct experience, which is wordless. Direct experience is wordless, conceptless. It's just the experience that you're having in this moment of, you know, what you see. And then other direct experience, of course, would be sounds. So you might hear my voice right now, but if I pause, you might hear other noises. So these are sound sensations. And there's touch sensation, like you might notice what it feels like under your feet or under your seat. The feel of the air on your skin, heat. These are touch sensations, textures, things like that. And so these are direct sensations. Now there's other direct sensations as well. There's internal. So I might notice the feeling of like hunger in my stomach, or what the breath feels like as it fills up my chest, or that there's some pain in the back of my head, or my chest feels a little bit tight. These are direct sensations. So direct sensation is all of the things that I've mentioned, and it can be experienced in one at a time. So maybe I'm just focused on the breath sensation at the tip of my nose or my nostrils as the breath comes in. And it could be just focused on what the light looks like right there on that spot. or it can be more general. So I can try and take in all of those sensations. So it's kind of a relaxed, open uh, uh, receiving of those direct sensations of everything around me at once. And it can be in between as well. So this is direct experience. So that's what we're talking about. What we're not talking about are the concepts, the thoughts, the like, kind of mind map, mind train, all of those kinds of things. So the practice of direct experience is just tuning into at least one of those things in a moment. So breath meditation is a very famous one where you might focus on the sensation of every single breath, maybe the movement of it, maybe the sensation of it at your nose tip or in your lungs. So what does that feel like? The texture of that. So breath sensation is a practice of direct experience, but it could be really just everything in this moment, which is kind of a more open kind of awareness of direct experience. So, why is this important? And then we give you the caveats that I mentioned, the warnings. Why it's important, you know, it isn't that direct experience, putting your attention on the direct experience of this moment is better than thinking or processing things with your mind. It's just different. And so I don't want to hold this as like the thing that you need to be doing 24 hours a day. No, this is something that you can turn to in any moment. It's always available to you while you're having a conversation, while you're out for a walk, while you're working, while you're in the shower, while you're washing a dish. In any one of those moments, direct experience is totally available to you. And one of the important things is that it pulls us out of the realm of thinking, of concepts, of what our mental map is of the world into something that's happening right now. And that can be really amazing if you are feeling some anxiety, like about what's going to happen in the future or what people might think about me. This is all in the mind area. And then we pull straight to what's happening right now, directly in this moment. So that can pull us out of the thing that's actually spinning us around in anxiety. It's not just anxiety if we're frustrated with someone else or with a certain situation. We're thinking about something and that causes the frustration, and we can get stuck in these kind of frustration cycles until we're like really like maddened, right? And so direct experience pulls us out of those kinds of cycles, those loops of ruminating about something that might have happened before, of like, why does it have to be this way? It pulls us into direct experience. And it can be very relaxing if you just pull yourself into the direct experience of this moment. There's nothing that's needed. There's nothing wrong. It is just what's happening. And we can get into even an acceptance of this is just how things are in this moment. It's very relaxing. We can come to a moment of peace. The practice of tuning into our direct experience of this moment can be very peaceful, very freeing, very liberating. It isn't the only way to liberate and find peace, but I would say that it's always there and it is always possible. So before I get into how to practice, I want to share a caveat or two, a warning or two. And one is that there might be some of you watching this for whom this is not necessarily the best way to practice mindfulness. For those kinds of people would be the people who have some kind of trauma that it would be triggered by the direct experience of this moment. So, for example, if you're feeling some anxiety and you're like, let me tune into the direct experience of that in my body, and that really triggers a trauma kind of memory, that could be too much for you to process on your own in this moment. It could, for some people, tuning into the body, the direct experience of the sensations that are happening in the body right now might, you know, really like trigger some old trauma, some PTSD, for example, and get you into, panic attack, full on panic attack where you're curled up in a ball on the floor. And so, not that there's anything wrong with panic attacks. And if this happens to you, it's totally okay that that happens. But for those people, tuning into direct experience might trigger something that's too intense for them to handle. We don't want you to be at a 10 out of 10 in terms of intensity. We can handle things that are in the 5, 6, 7 out of 10 in terms of intensity. Most of us can handle something like that. But if it is taking you into 8, 9, 10 in terms of intensity, that might be connected to some kind of trauma. And what I would say is, in those cases, we want to get out of direct experience, distract yourself to something else. Go and, you know, look at your phone, go for a walk and try and think about something pleasant. Get on a call with someone where you're distracting yourself away from the experience so that you can get out of that trauma response and into something more calm. Now, that said, I do believe that for those people who have trauma, tuning into being able to relax and accept the direct experience of your body can be an incredibly healing thing. It's just that sometimes if it gets too intense, that might be too much to handle on your own. And what I would suggest then is to have someone who is trained to help you to process through that, to hold you, to know that you're safe, and so that you can have that experience and eventually you get to relax with that experience and it would be okay. But that's not the topic of this video. It's really more just to warn you that if that is the case, then you might want to either avoid this or only do it for a little bit to the extent that you feel like, okay, this is not getting me into a 10 out of 10 trauma response where I'm curled up in a ball. This is something that I can handle. It's uncomfortable. And that would, so for those type of people, that would be people who have experienced some kind of physical, really strong trauma, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse or assault, war kinds of trauma, those kinds of trauma where, um, you know, getting into that, physical sensation in the body will trigger some of those trauma responses, then that would be the kind of people for whom direct experience might be something to tread cautiously. You might need some help, or at least do it just in small doses to the extent that you feel able to. Um, the other caveat is kind of going on the flip sides. For some people, they think any kind of discomfort is too much. I don't want to feel discomfort. And what I would say, if you're not someone who, where just the discomfort of this present moment, direct experience, is causing a 10 out of 10 intense trauma type response, if it's just uncomfortable, then I would say let yourself experience a little bit of discomfort. It's okay to feel a bit of discomfort. So, for example, oh, my back is feeling a bit uncomfortable sitting like this. Could I just tune into the discomfort? Instead of just labeling it discomfort, could I just feel the direct sensation of that? Or, oh, I'm a bit hungry right now. I need to get up and stop practicing and I need to go and satisfy this hunger craving. Well, I'm not saying to starve yourself. I'm not a proponent of starving yourself, but having a little bit of hunger in your stomach is just uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be the end, a panic kind of thing where I need to get out of this right away. And so if you can experience something that is a 5 or a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of discomfort or intensity, if you can allow yourself to do that for a little bit, I think that's actually something that expands your capacity to be with discomfort and the direct sensation of this moment. So I would say, like, let yourself play with that a little bit. Don't just automatically assume, like, this sucks, I don't want to do it. That is kind of our judgment of the discomfort, of the direct sensation, and then our decision that we cannot handle that. We can't trust ourselves to be able to sit with that discomfort. We need to banish it from our lives. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, let's talk about how to practice. So Practice with direct sensation, direct experience is something that you can do while sitting. So, for example, if you're just sitting on the couch, you might close your eyes and just feel, what does my breath feel like in this moment? What is the direct sensation, the direct experience of this moment as I sit here? So, breath, you might feel your body as well. You might listen to sounds all around you. And so you just kind of relax with those, allow them to be, and accept that those are what's there in this moment. You're just tuning into them. And it's almost like you just let yourself kind of feel them or experience them without needing to do anything about them. So I think sitting kind of practice, sitting meditation with direct experience is the simplest because you're not doing anything. So I would say a little practice where you do that every day, even for a minute or two, is really good. And you can expand that over time to 5 minutes, maybe 7, 10 minutes. You don't have to go super long, but just having a daily practice where you just sit and you have the experience. And just let yourself relax. Tune into it, relax, accept it, let it be perfectly okay, and nothing needs to be changed or fixed about that experience. So that's the most basic fundamental practice with direct experience. The next level is doing something. And I would say doing something very simple. I like washing a dish, one dish, drinking a cup of tea, something simple, going out for a walk. And you can just experience the direct experience of that moment as you're out for a walk or as you're doing washing a dish. So you can be doing something very simple. I don't encourage you to do things that are digital because your mind gets sucked into a bunch of things there. And then practicing with someone else, a conversation, doing some kind of activity with someone else is more complex. So these are more advanced levels. I would say do something very simple. And you can get to those later, but for now, start with sitting for a while. I would say a week with just sitting is good, and then you could expand, continue the sitting, and then start to expand to other moments where you can be like, let me just practice with the direct experience of drinking this cup of tea or this glass of water. Eating a meal is kind of expanding beyond that. So not just drinking a cup of tea, but eating an entire meal. Just sit there and experience that without having any distractions. No conversation, no books, no phones, no TV, and just experience the meal. So what you can see is we're really just single tasking here, really just focusing on one thing. The same thing, you can do a set of chores would be an expanded. I'm going to do, fold my laundry. No distractions. Um, Later, you can start to experience, an entire workout would be expanding beyond some kind of movement thing. But later, you can do it in conversation and just in little moments. In this moment, let me just experience their voice, experience the moment around me, and then tune into their actual meaning. So don't zone out for 10 minutes. You just like moment to moment, you might have a little bit of experience of the direct experience of this moment with another person while also listening to them. And so it might be a little bit of back and forth. You might lose a little bit of the thread of the conversation. So try not to do that. If there's a pause, you might just check in. How does my body feel? And what that makes available is if you get caught in some kind of tightness, attachment, some kind of thought about the other person, you can catch that and drop into direct experience. Okay, so that's how I would recommend practicing. What you'll notice if you practice with this in these different ways is it calms you down. It gets you into just learning to accept the present moment. You become more relaxed, more peaceful, more at ease throughout your day. And the more you do this, the more you're able to access it at any moment, which is an incredible, incredible thing. Okay, my friends, I'll talk to you later. I hope this was helpful. Sending you all love. Please like this video if it was helpful. Leave a comment, let me know if you have any questions or any thoughts. And then please do subscribe for more of this content. It really helps me if I am growing our community and people are engaged. And if you're sharing it with others who could use this, that's greatly appreciated. Bye, my friends.